What's going on, everyone? Trust the Buzz here. If you're new to the channel, I make Charlotte Hornets content, so if they interest you, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. I will just want to make a quick announcement that Sunday I will be streaming at 3 p.m. We're going to go through every single game of the 82 game season and talk about whether the Charlotte Hornets will win or lose, and we'll come out with whatever our final prediction will be based on that. So I suggest you join. We're going to have a great time. And in relation to that stream, I hope everybody comes out, like I said, 3 p.m. Eastern time. I also will just upload it after if you're unable to make it. Also, if that time doesn't work for you, let me know down in the comment what times do work, and then maybe in future streams I'll be able to pick a better time for everybody. But we're doing it tomorrow. We're going over the Charlotte Hornets schedule. Be there. I'll be grateful for anyone that shows up. And like I said, if you're unable to make it, hopefully I'll find a way to upload it to YouTube. Shouldn't be no issue. But in relation to that stream, in today's video, we're going to be talking about, can the Charlotte Hornets survive the first 10 games of the NBA season? The reason that's important because Miles Bridges will be missing. Everybody else, from what I know, should be available. Caleb Martin, LaMelo Ball, Mark Williams, everybody should be available. Miles Bridges, however, will miss the first 10 games just because of the fact that the 10-game suspension. We're going to be going through each game, kind of, technically. So the games that Miles Bridges will be missing, because we know that's going to be a vital part. That's a 20-point per game score. We missed them all throughout last year. That was part of his deal with the NBA that he wouldn't play at all last year. But because of what happened, right before free agency. So, of course, he's going to miss 10 games. But the 10 games that he are going to miss in order are the Atlanta Hawks, Pistons, Nets, Rockets, Pacers, Mavs, Wizards again, Knicks, and Heat. So, in this case, there are 5 home games and 5 away games. Now, Hawks, Pistons, Nets, Wizards, and Heat are all home games, while we'll be at Houston, at Indiana, at Dallas, at Washington, and at New York for the Knicks. So how will the Hornets fare? I think if we can get a 5, if we can go 5-5, I think that will be great. Now, I will be worried if that 5-5 is we win the 5 home games, lose the 5 away games. But I'll even take if we win, for whatever reason, we win all 5 road games, but lose all 5 home games, I actually won't be too concerned. I think that's something you can bounce back. Teams, especially younger teams, usually play well at home, way better than they do on the road. So if we can go out there without Miles Bridges, who, objectively is our second best player on the team, if we can go out there and win 5 road games, that will be great. But I'm thinking at 5-5, I will take. I'm really hoping for a 6-4, just so that we don't start off the season technically, because that's for us, the Charlotte Hornets. I think the season doesn't really start until Miles Bridges comes back, and even then it'll be a kind of little shaky. But if we can start 6-4, I'm actually okay with that. So the game against the Hawks, that's going to be the home game. It's going to be the first game of the season. I can see that as a win. I wouldn't say I'm pretty confident. Hawks are going to be much better with Quinn Snyder, with a full offseason of Quinn Snyder. They didn't make too many moves, so I don't think their roster's shaking up any. And then I think they added Patty Mills, who, for example, for them, that's just a veteran player. There's not really much at the game plan around him. So if you got DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter, those guys showing up, of course, Trae Young, I'm pretty sure, this team is going to be very similar to they were last year, but with an offseason, with a full offseason with Quinn Snyder, I do, visualize them being better than they were last year. However, I do think the Hornets can pull that out. It will not be easy. That's a 50-50 game to me, but considering it's at home, I'm going to give us a slight lead. Next is the Pistons. That's another home game 2 days later. Well, actually a day later. The Hawks game is the 25th of October and the Pistons game is the 27th. That game is a win. I think there's no reason we should lose this game, unless something happens. But I will say Cade Cunningham will be back. Jaden Ivey, those guys will be there. Did they get a Sore? Yeah, they got a Sore Thompson. So it is going to be, I think, a very fast-paced game. I think it's going to be a very good game. But I do feel as though the Hornets should edge that out against the Pistons. LaMelo Ball, I think, if you just match up the lineup, I think we have a better lineup overall. So I really see us winning that game even without Miles Bridges. The Nets will be iffy. The Nets, to me, they're really just Mikal Bridges. As much as I love Cam Johnson, as much as I'm glad he got his contract, big Cam Johnson fan, even before he went to UNC, but especially that my boy is a Tar Heel. I'm really happy for him, and I think he's a good player. I just don't see it as far as the Nets being where they were last year. I know, of course, they had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving for a part of the season, and some people think they can kind of somewhat replicate that, not be as good, but still be a team that is formidable, and you could possibly make the playoffs. I don't see it yet. That's definitely a team where I'm not going one way or the other. I really just want to see them play. So I will actually be watching them closely because I do think they have talent to kind of fight, but I don't know if they really have the talent to really see themselves as a playoff team. That is a 50-50 game as well. Once again, considering we're home, start off the season with 3 straight home games, I can see us winning that. So really, I wouldn't say we're 3-0. I know that looking at the games individually, it starts off 3-0. I don't think we start the season 3-0, but I will say 2-1. That it could be in any order. The only game I would feel like I can guarantee would be the Pistons game, and even then, I think it's going to be a really great game. I don't think the Hornets are blowing the Pistons out. I think it's just going to be a very good, solid game. Next game, November 1st at Houston. I think this is going to be a big game just because of the fact that you got the young Houston Rockets team. They got Amin Thompson. They got Alperen Sengun, who's been tearing it up over there in Europe. But then they also have Jalen Green, of course. I think that is Fred VanVleet. How could I forget about that? And Dylan Brooks. So it's not going to be an easy game by any means. But I think the Hornets might struggle in that game. One, you just played 3 games in 5 days, and then this will be technically your 4th game in 6 days. So it is going to be tough. You're on the road. They do have that leadership that the Hornets are looking for. They have that. You have that with guys like Dylan Brooks, who kind of brings it on the floor. We know Fred VanVleet, he's a champion for a reason. He has some championship pedigree he brings to the team. I think that is going to help that team, put them over the edge. I don't feel like the Rockets are overall a better team. I do feel like in this game in particular, we could lose that game. Same with the Pacers. I don't think the Pacers are that much better than the Hornets, if at all. I think, if anything, the Pacers are maybe a little more cohesive than the Hornets. The Hornets, I love all our talent. I love what we have. Mark Williams, Brandon Miller, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, like I said, not mention Miles Bridges just because he will be suspended during this time. But I do feel like if you look at the Pacers and just how they play on the floor and how cohesive they are, I do feel as though they're just a little more cohesive than the Hornets. We'll be on the road after coming from Houston, going up to Indiana. It is a roughly 2-3 day break, so maybe that will help us, kind of get ourselves together. But I just don't see us winning against the Pacers that early in the season. Once again, not saying the Pacers are better than us. Just I'm trying to, take into schedule. That's something I feel like a lot of people forget. They just look at the teams and say, "Oh, we should win." But I'm looking at the schedule and how it could impact us as well, not just talent for talent. And just going on the road after being home for 3 straight games, playing a lot of games in so many days, Pacers aren't just going to be a team you can knock over. That's just really all I'm saying. So I think, considering we have to go back down to Texas the very next day to play the Mavs, I just don't see the Hornets winning that particular game. But like I said, going to Dallas and playing the Mavs, this will be the 3rd straight road game. I think this could be a win. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. I'm still not sold by anything that Dallas has as far as a center, and I think Mark Williams will have a big game this game. The problem will be stopping Luka and stopping Kyrie. I don't think you can stop them. I think you just let them do what they do. I will be very interested to see how this plays out. I think that, we can see a lot of Brandon Miller here. I don't know exactly what the lineup's going to look like. I'm not even here to project that. Maybe in the stream on Sunday at 3. Go ahead, be there. Maybe then we can talk more about exactly like what we see, in the lineups. But I think we can see a lot of Brandon Miller here just because Luka is such a big guard. I think it will be important to put Brandon Miller on him. I would maybe say Caleb Martin, or Cody Martin, but he's missed so much time. I'm just not sure. And we haven't heard anything about his injury yet. I'm projecting him to be healthy. I just don't know if putting him on Luka after really not playing real NBA minutes in a year essentially is just the best thing. But I don't know. This is why I see we use a lot of Brandon Miller to put him up to the challenge. I'm not saying he'll shut down Luka. I'm just saying that will just be a favorable matchup. But really, I think if the Hornets want to win this game, which they can, Mark Williams is going to be very, very key cog in that, as well as just simply letting those guys do what they do. But they can't do it by themselves. The defense, I think, the defense is not bad, but the Dallas Mavericks defense isn't all that great. Considering the Charlotte Hornets with LaMelo Ball is one of the best offensive teams in basketball, like statistically speaking, I think we can give them a run for their money. I think we could take that game on the road. November 8th, we play the Wizards This will be a home game for us. I just don't see the Wizards beating us either game, really. And since considering it's back-to-back, home and away, I'll talk about both games. I don't see the Wizards beating us. Maybe not this early in the season. I can see it possibly later in the season. But I will say this, and it sounds crazy. I could see us losing that November 8th game, the home game, just because we maybe underestimate them and Jordan Poole has like a crazy game. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying I can see it happening. But that is more of the Borrego era-ish Hornets. I think Steve Clifford would have these guys ready to go and not play down to their opponents. That's something huge I'm looking for this season. With the Borrego era, we had so many times that the Hornets were just playing down to their opponent's caliber. I think Steve Clifford would have these guys ready to play and hopefully be ready for those two games. If that is the case, we win both games, but I would not be surprised if we drop the home game of all games. I think we could drop the home game, come back for revenge in an away game and win. The Knicks, this will probably be my favorite game out of the 10. Knicks and Hawks. I say that because I think the Knicks aren't that far ahead, but they seem that far ahead because they made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years. That core seemed like it's getting better. RJ Barrett, I know he has his ups and downs, but he's not a bad basketball player. We know what Jalen Brunson could do. Julius Randle, when he's in the game, when he's involved, when he's there mentally, not just physically, we see that he can have a big game, especially against the Hornets. But the Hornets have done a good job last couple of games playing against the Knicks. I know we had that game where we beat them in Madison Square Garden, so that was huge for us. I'm not saying we can just automatically, just because we did last year, we can replicate that. And that might be something the Knicks are thinking about because that was like an embarrassing game for them towards the end of the season. So it could be on their mind. I don't know. I'm not a Knicks fan, but I'm very interested to see how this game goes. Just looking at the rosters, yes, they have like guys who the Julius Randles who's nationally recognized and won awards. Jalen Brunson, who put the league on notice last year by being the guy, like being a guy on a team, on a good team, and succeeding. And then RJ Barrett, who we know at times, and for Canada, he's been playing very well, but we know at times he can have very good games as well. Josh Hart, who's been a tremendous glue piece for them, and then Mitchell Robinson, we know that he can anchor that defense. I just don't see it. I see how good that team is. I just don't think that team is leaps and bounds in us on our best day. And I think that will be a good test for us because Rockets, Pacers, I feel like those are just slip ups. I know I say we could possibly lose those games. I don't really feel those teams are just better. I think that's just how basketball goes. You're not going to win every game. The schedule's all over the place. That's just is what it is. But I think this game against the Knicks, we have a day break after playing in Washington. We didn't go to we'd have a break day, and then on the 12th we're playing the Knicks. I just think this will be a good just indicator of how good is this team. I know we will be missing Miles Bridges, but I still think this will be just a good test. And then lastly, the final game that Miles Bridges will miss is November 14th. We play the Miami Heat. I don't know. I have no idea with the Heat. I honestly, I see that I'll say this. We could win this game. I think we have the talent to win this game even without Miles Bridges. I think that the Heat offense isn't good. So if we can just play, I know their defense is stifling, but if we could just play a little, I don't know. If someone has a big game here that's not named LaMelo Ball, I think we can win this game. I truly do. It will just be interesting to see how this Heat team plays. They went to the finals with missing Tyler Hero. Are they going to be a team that's a 16-game team where they're just worried about the playoffs? I don't know. I have no idea. You would think not, because that team will them. Okay, so with other teams' mistakes and the Heat just willing themselves, they made the finals. And that takes effort on its own. That takes skill on its own. Can the Heat afford to say, hey, we're a 16-game team, so we're cruising through the East technically? I mean, really, that's who they really should be just worried about, just teams they play in the East, especially the Hornets being in their division. Can we take games like this off? I don't think so. I think that I think you have to take every game seriously. I think you have to take every game as, hey, we need this game to make the playoffs. I don't think it's just clean cut as maybe it seemed at times last year. It seems like they were miles better than the Knicks. It seems like at times they were miles better than the Celtics. Then we saw the talent discrepancy, and the Celtics almost came back to win that series. So And then we saw what happened when they played Denver. It's interesting. That's going to be a very interesting game. That's going to be a good test as well. But playing against the Heat particularly, I just won't knock it if we lose. I'll just say we lose this game just because of the fact that we will be missing Miles Bridges. I think that will be the key component. So looking back at the schedule, let's see. I say we'll go, roughly 5-5. I think that's what I end up having. I had us losing against the Heat, beating the Knicks, beating the Wizards again, beating the Mavs, and then I say 2-1 against the. So I actually have us going 6-4. So like I said, if we could just stay a little over above 500, that would be great. I have us going 6-4. I'll probably reevaluate this tomorrow when I have more time to ramble. I know this video is already running long, but just let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Once again, if I have the Hornets losing, and this goes for tomorrow as well, if I have the Hornets losing any game, it is not because I think that team's so much better, anything like that. I'm just trying to take in the schedule as a whole. It's not as simple as, is this team better than that team? We know that each and every night it is completely different factors. We're looking at different things. Tomorrow we'll be looking at, all right, who is this team playing the next day? Are they more? We're going to be breaking it all down. So I'm just very interested to see how the season goes. I'm excited. I know the schedule being released is just one. That means we're one step closer to being in the NBA season. I'll see you guys next time, basically. Peace.